God. Let's just make sure we have that clear. God establishes the relationship. So what is that relationship and what does it look like? God clearly says, as they all stand at the foot of Mount Sinai and he gives his law, he gives his 10 commandments, and he says, I am Yahweh, your God. I am the Lord your God, and people don't always hear that as a proclamation of grace. And as a matter of fact, the Jewish people at the time didn't necessarily hear that as a proclamation of grace either. The fear of God wasn't that healthy reverence and awe like Luther talks about in the Catechism, but instead they were genuinely terrified. So much so that if you read on past the text that was read just a few moments ago, if you go on to verse 18, it says, when the people saw the thunder and lightning and heard the trumpet and saw the mountain in smoke, they trembled with fear. They stayed at a distance and said to Moses, you speak to us yourself, and we will listen. But do not have God speak to us, or we will surely die. They were afraid. They feared God so much that they would not even say his name. And to this day, the Jewish people do not say the name of God that's written in the Jewish scriptures. It says, I am Yahweh, your God. That's what he said. That's his name. That's what's written in Hebrew, but they were so afraid of misusing it, of breaking the second commandment, they would never say the name Yahweh, and to this day they don't. They translated, and we translate it as Lord. If you look in your Bible, sometimes you see Lord in lowercase letters, and that's the word Adonai in Hebrew, which means a Lord, a master, okay? But if you see it all in uppercase letters, the word Adonai is not there. It's the name of God. I had the privilege once of, when I was deployed, to take a Jewish airman to a service for Yom Kippur. He wasn't old enough to drive in the country where we were overseas, and so he needed an escort as well, and they said, Chaplain, I said, I'll take him. I'll go with him. I will never again in my life complain about how long Easter Sunday is. The Jewish people celebrate Yom Kippur from sun up to a couple hours past sundown. And we would have been there that whole length of time if we hadn't gotten lost. We were driving and had to stop twice for directions in a foreign country. That's always fun. But we eventually found the synagogue in a very nondescript place. They brought us in, and they showed us where to sit. We had designated seats, and there was very few people there. But as the day went on, it filled and filled and filled until that night there was not an empty seat in the house. But what was interesting was never did you hear the name of God spoken. Instead, you always heard the word Adonai. They were too afraid to say it. We do need to stand in awe of God because he is an all-powerful God.